That's a little high energy for this morning.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back down. Hey everybody, how's it going? Sorry that we missed last week's episode, but here we are with episode 90.
Hey,
wow,
look at that.
How about that? 90 episodes. Do we want to go ahead and do we want to try to spill the beans on what the thing is for 100 episodes, or do you want to wait?
No, we still got 10 more episodes to go.
Yeah, let's get the logistics handled. The logistics of it handled
there's
first.
like 3.5 more months.
Yeah, that's
potentially,
true.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll wait on that. We'll tease you guys a little longer. I have a story I'd like to share.
Go ahead.
It's not a long one or anything, but my cardiologist wanted me to do an EKG stress test, which is where they hook you up to like all the leads, and they have you walk on a treadmill. And I went and did that yesterday morning, and I walked in, and I kind of already knew like I was gonna have to like take my shirt off or whatever, and like be in a cold room, and like it was gonna be an uncomfortable experience or whatever. And I walk back there, and the nurse that comes to get me is like this cute like 20-year-old nurse. And I'm like, oh,
like fresh out of school.
Yeah.
No.
And she takes me back into the room, and there's like another one. I'm like, oh. And like a third one walks in. I'm like, don't look at me. Don't look at my shame. So they have to like shave my chest and put all the leads on me and everything. Like she's having to like shave under my tit because like I got like hair under there or whatever. And they put me up on the treadmill, and it was 4 3-minute intervals at increasing speed and incline. And the first one, of course, it wasn't that much of an incline. It was very slow pace. And they were supposed to, from what I understood, they were going to stop it at when my heart rate reached 180, or if I made it through all 4 intervals.
Yeah.
They were like, it's not a goal. She was like, it's just whichever happens first.
Right.
Mine only ever got to 170, but that means that I did the full, was it 12 minutes, I guess?
Yeah.
And the last like 3 minutes, the incline is no shit like this.
Really?
And it's like almost a run.
Yeah.
Like it's close to being a run. So I'm like, at that point, like I was doing okay for a while, but when I got to that point, then I started like mouth breathing, and like I couldn't hold myself up with the front bar. I like had to like grab the side bars and like push myself up. So I'm like hunched over, and I'm all fat and pink and sweaty. And there's just these 3 cute girls looking at me. And I'm just like, oh, this is the worst.
Oh, good.
It made me feel like an animal.
I remember one time, I might have already told this story, but I think Mom had taken me to go get like a physical for like 9th grade football or something. And we went to, there used to be a clinic in downtown, where we live.
Yeah.
And so like we went in there, and like we go through like the whole thing, and the doctor goes, she's like, all right, she's like, ma'am, she's like, you might want to leave. I'm gonna have to do the turn your head and cough test or whatever.
I'm gonna pull his balls out.
And I was like, oh great, because like this doctor had like massive tits.
Oh no.
she had like a low cut shirt.
Oh no. What are you doing, lady?
So I was like, fuck.
She's got like a fucking latex nurse outfit with like the little like Red Cross like thing. Like they like to cover that Blink-182 album.
Yeah, she's like probably like in her early 30s. I mean, she wasn't like this like cave troll woman. Like she was a decent looking lady. And the whole time I was just like,
she wasn't the shaman.
Yeah, I was like looking at the ceiling.
Yeah. It's so uncomfortable. I had to do that for my previous job, because if you drive a company vehicle, you have to have a physical or whatever.
No.
I guess for insurance purposes. And the place I went and had it done, It was like a little old lady, and it was just like, I feel very vulgar whipping out my cock and balls in front of like someone's grandmother. Yeah. And like she takes her finger and she like sticks it like in between like your thigh and your nuts. Yeah. And she looks me in the face. I'm like, what are you doing?
Don't do that.
Don't do that, please.
Don't do that. Looking up at me.
No. She's just like... It's so funny, like, going and having procedures, I guess procedures like that done where they're like you're being poked and prodded and stuff. It's like, it makes you kind of feel like an experiment.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of feel like you don't even feel like a person.
Been abducted.
Yeah, like fire in the sky. They like take a goop and like smack it in your mouth. Have you ever seen? You've seen Fire in the Sky before, right? It's like an alien abduction movie.
If I have, it was a very long time ago.
The aliens in that movie. Every time I see Joe Biden, I think of those aliens. Let me look it up right quick.
But say I've seen Mars Attacks.
Yeah, that movie is so fucking retarded, but I really enjoy it. Yeah, it's really
what
good.
If like that's what aliens actually were like?
Yeah, it would be terrible.
Like out of all the movies that could have gotten it right, that was.
Tell me that's not Joe Biden.
Yeah, that looks exactly like him. Yeah,
that was funny. Have you ever seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
I've seen like the trailer for it. Yeah. I've never actually seen the movie though.
I watched it a real long time ago. I think it was one of those movies like that was made because somebody had to burn off some budget.
No.
Like otherwise like they wouldn't get as much budget next year.
No.
I think that's what I gathered from that movie being made.
Like Sharknado.
Like Sharknado, yeah.
Well, wasn't Stephen King's It? Wasn't like that supposed to be like an interdimensional, like outer space demon or something like that?
Yeah. He's not just an evil clown.
Yeah.
He's like Chris actually knows. Chris knows like all the It deep lore.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like an interdimensional like vampire type being.
Yeah.
And I think he takes the form of like whatever you're most afraid of. I think.
Yeah.
Like those things from Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
Were Dementors? No, it wasn't a Dementor. No. It was the guy had it in a closet.
A boggart or something like that.
A boggart? That sounds right.
I think it's,
a boggart.
Yeah,
that's such like an English word.
Like was it? They call like people who like enjoy the company of the same sex a bugger.
A bugger. I heard.
It's such a weird term.
It is. And then they call pedophiles nonces. It's like it doesn't sound like you guys are taking anything seriously. Everything's got a silly little name.
Yeah. Speaking of, was it? Like, have you ever like? I've never actually read the book, but apparently at the end of the first book, there's like some fucked up shit.
Yeah. All the kids have an orgy in the sewer. Yeah. You know.
Ugh.
I don't follow Stephen King on Twitter, but he posts like
I've seen some lowlights.
Well, he posts like I get the impression that Stephen King is a performative liberal.
You think so?
That's what I gather. I don't think that he actually really understands like the things that he espouses. He just says those things because it's what he thinks he needs to say. That's how it comes across to me. But anyway, the point is, anytime that he does tweet, I'll ask him about that. I'll reply to him and be like, "Why did you write a child orgy? Why did just there's some version of that question." It's every time I see one of his tweets, I'll do that.
Like I think you kind of have to be fucked up to begin with to write horror stories.
Yeah,
but that's like taking it to like the thing's gone.
Yeah,
like
we're just trying to find a way out of the sewer now.
Yeah,
yeah. It's I think that like narrative purpose that it served was the kids all grew up and it was like their transition into adulthood was all of them having an underage orgy in a sewer.
Mm.
And when I say orgy, it's one girl and several young boys.
Yeah.
Like, if I think the girl character was like much older than the boys were.
I've never read the book, so I'm not sure.
I haven't read the book. I'm talking out of my ass here.
I know, like, the cinematic adaptation, it seems like she is the same age.
Yeah. I wonder...
And, like, the later version, the ones that recently came out, because I know that there was one that came out, like, a very long time ago, like, when I was maybe in 3rd grade. That It movie had come out, but...
I wonder when they were adapting the screenplay... If they had to have the conversation.
Yeah, like a bunch of stuffy boarded directors.
They're like, okay, guys.
Okay, what about the child sex orgy? They're like, here.
Here.
Everybody's like got monocles in.
Top hats.
Well,
I mean, they had to have brought it up, right? They're like, okay, guys, we all know, let's go ahead and say it out loud. Yeah. We can't film the child orgy. We can't do that. One guy's like, oh, wait, I don't know. I would think if we do it tastefully. Yeah, I don't know. I've never written a horror story, but I feel like I could probably do it without writing about children banging each other. Yeah.
Sounds to me like he might be a part of NAMBLA.
Sounds to me like he might have a little fetish.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I'm just saying.
Somebody should probably look into that.
You're the one that wrote the book and put it out there, so it's kind of on you.
You would think like the FBI would be like, whoa.
Whoa, dude. Yeah. I wonder what his editor, like his publisher or editor was like when they read it. They're like, hey, I really enjoyed the book, but right here at the end.
Yeah. Page 623, right towards the end, the final chapter.
He's like, "What about it?" She's like, "It's like, I mean, you're the novella, you're the novelist. I mean, what can I really say?"
I'd have been like, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Seems a bit pedophilic.
Seems like you want to bang kids, or at least very least want to watch them bang each other. Speaking of banging kids, did you see where the Epstein client list is supposed to be? Yeah, they're releasing
like 177 names, I think.
They're supposed to release it like early next year sometime. Yeah. That's what I read.
I wonder, I don't think there's going to be like any juicy...
I don't think anything will come of it. I don't think it will. I think it'll probably be I think it'll be 177 Fall Guys.
Yeah.
That's what I think it'll be. So they'll be like, oh, we can get people to stop asking about it.
Right.
But I wonder if they would be dumb enough to think that we would accept 177 names of people we have never heard.
No, when it's like we know that there's like other people.
Yeah, we know for a fact, like Bill Clinton,
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking was there.
Yeah, that's a wild one.
Yeah. I mean, I also read that supposedly 3 names will remain sealed. They won't release those 3 names.
Yeah, probably the Prince guy.
So, I mean,
I don't think they're going to throw the crown under the bus, even though everybody knows.
Are you talking about
Prince,
the royal family?
Yeah,
Prince Philip.
Prince Philip.
Yeah. Did you watch that video?
I was going to say Prince Albert, but I think that's a penis piercing.
It is. It's when you get like I think it's a bar through the head of your dick. Yeah. Just like knowing how sensitive that thing is and just like jamming a metal bar through it.
Yeah, I'd always heard it was like where they go like from the underside, like where the tip is at.
Yeah.
And they like it's like a hot needle, and they take it and they stick it under and then thread it back up through the pee hole, and they like put a ring on the end of it.
Why? Like what? How much catch do you have to play with your kid to avoid that? To avoid them doing that?
Whatever it is, it's like you need to.
Christ Almighty!
I don't know. I've never I know I've got a couple tattoos, but I've never. Sticking something through me, and then having it hang there,
being impaled, that's totally different. I watched a girl get a belly button piercing one time, and it's like a little hook needle, and they go in your belly button, and then they like hook it up through like you watch it, like it kind of like protubes. There's a protuberance. And then it just like comes through the skin. And the girl I was watching her get it done. When it popped through, she went like that, like jumped. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking pass out. I can't sit here and watch this
so
shit.
She looked at you and went,
yeah, it looks great.
like at least like with tattoos, like it's not like it like when you're watching it happen, like it just seems like someone's like just drawing.
Just drawing. Like, it might as well be a Sharpie or something. Yeah. No, watching somebody get a piercing is a totally whole other thing. It's like I saw me and Mary went somewhere one time, and we saw this girl that had piercings in her teeth, like her front two teeth, I think it was, but it was like up here in the gums. And I was like, I don't even want to know how does that even happen, because there's like it's all bone and meat right there, and like and tooth roots.
No.
It makes me feel faint when
Yeah.
I think about it. I have to start rubbing my chest. It's like,
oh my.
It's funny because like I've seen some really fucked up shit like on the internet and stuff, but like seeing somebody with a weird piercing is like, ugh, I can't deal with that.
Or like the people like split their tongue. That's so gross.
There was a guy that turned himself into like a lizard. Do you remember
I remember that guy.
Yeah,
he was on like Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah, he split his tongue, and he also what all did he do? He like tattooed
Had like a bunch of dermal stuff like in the top of his head.
Yeah, like a bunch of like ridges. He had like ridges installed in his head, and then like I'm pretty sure his entire body was tattooed like green or something like that.
Imagine like at his funeral, they're like, Lizard Man was
Dr. Connors. Lizard Man lived a full life. He liked laying on top of hot rocks. His favorite food was crickets.
It's like if he really wanted to like go the entire way, then he would have like got his tongue like extended so he could like lick his own eye.
Yeah.
Take off your eyelids and lick your own eyes.
And like remove your eyelids and then have them put them on like 90 degrees so you blink like horizontally. All that like extreme body modification stuff is just I can't stomach it, man. It's like we see those people that will get like all those hooks or rings put in their backs and then will suspend themselves by it. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Just like imagine like a shower curtain ring just in your fucking love handle, and you're hanging from it.
Just one.
Just one.
It's like rotating. It seems like something out of Saw.
Yeah, fucking Hellraiser. Yeah. That's not for me. I think when it comes to like horror stuff, I think body horror is the one that gets me the most. Just because I have like I have empathetic tendencies towards injuries. So whenever I see something like somebody like, I don't know, break their fucking arm, I'm like, my arm, you know? So if I see somebody like hung up like a fucking
like a rotisserie chicken.
Side of beef, my brain's just like, that's me.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I understand like the tattoo thing a lot, I guess, because I have them, but I understand a lot more than like the actual like piercing thing.
Yeah.
There's something about piercings like I've never. I don't know. It's not something. Even like nipple piercings, like I've always been like I can't.
Not my fucking nipple, man. If I
it's
had,
too sensitive. I'm sorry.
If I had to get anything pierced, I probably would do my earlobe, because I feel like this.
It's just
I think it would hurt, obviously, but like
I would get my weenus tattooed.
Oh yeah, where there's no nerve endings. You just have like a ring hanging off your elbow. You like snagged on something.
Like there's some nerve ending, like that would hurt, but
yeah, I think it would hurt, obviously, but I don't think it would be like.
No, and I think they do it pretty quick. Like
don't they have like a gun?
Yeah, like when our daughter went and got hers done, like it's not like a gun, it's like a clamp thing.
Yeah.
And like they stick the like they have like the stud earrings or whatever, and they'll stick them in there, and then they essentially just stick it on there, and they go click like that, and just it goes right through.
Really?
Yeah.
How did she take it?
She didn't want the second one.
Oh no.
Yeah.
She was like, one's enough.
Yeah. We're like, listen, you've already started it.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna go ahead and finish it.
Yeah.
As we told her, like you're gonna be really upset if you only get one.
Yeah, you're gonna look uneven.
Yeah, and like she asked for months to get her ears pierced.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, we're gonna take you.
Yeah. So did she do both?
Yeah, she did both of them.
I was gonna say because I can't like picture her with
yeah, she did both of them. Which one is it? Like they say, like with the guys, it's like
if you get one, it means you're gay.
Is it the left ear?
I think it's the left ear. Yeah. That reminds me of that fucking Family Guy bit where he was like, I need that, where Peter's like, I need that, like I need another hole in the head. He was like, and I got this hole on the wrong side, that means I'm gay. And he just has like this giant hole, like you like see the inside of his head, and there's like this gay guy that pops up in his window. He's like, hey, are you coming out tonight? And he was like, no, I got the hole on the wrong side.
Speaking of adult cartoons, have you seen it? They kind of released it without any fanfare. It's a brand new South Park episode. Yeah, so it's a brand new South Park episode, and it's like they talk about what's the energy drink all the kids are drinking?
Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they spoof on that.
Yeah.
And then Randy Marsh starts an OnlyFans account.
Oh God.
It's just like him, like doing stuff with his cock and balls out.
Just like doing mundane things.
He's like sitting in the chair. He's got a T-shirt on. He's like talking to the camera,
his
like
balls
a YouTube. It's his cock and balls. And he's like doing one where he's like making like a roast or something.
Yeah.
And then like he's like panning like to all like the ingredients, and just at the end it's just like his balls and his wiener on the table.
Randy is my favorite character, I think, in South Park.
It's between him and Butters.
Yeah. I think the reason I like Randy so much is because they use him as like a catalyst for almost every story.
Right.
Like whatever the thing might be, Randy is usually weaved into it somehow or in some way, and it never really feels forced.
Right.
Like, you remember the episode where people were getting canceled for liking Columbus? And like Randy was like projecting on everybody else like that they liked Columbus. Yeah. And he was like, we gotta get rid of all of our Columbus shit. And he had like plates and cups and like he was trying to get get his DNA test to reveal that he was Native American.
Yeah.
So he got that Native American guy to come over, and he made out with him before he did the test or whatever. And like the Indian guy like falls in love with him. It's so funny because like later on he's trying to get rid of all of his Columbus shit, and he's got like the tricorn hat and like a globe and like a scepter. And, like the Indian guy comes over and he's trying to beat him up. And the guy's just filming him dressed as Columbus and beating up the Indian guy. It's funny because like with that bit, you know, you can kind of already see where they're going with it.
Yeah.
But it still has a good payoff.
There's so many like good South Park episodes. Like of course, like as far as like, and it might be because I was in high school during the time when I saw those ones, but I feel like Imagination Land was like a really good like trilogy that they did. And then they had Imagination. It's like, are you gonna rape us? He's like, what?
What?
There was that one, and there was the World of Warcraft, Make Love Not Warcraft, or whatever.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Good.
Where he's like in the Best Buy, he's like, oh.
Yeah, his character dies in the game, but he's in the Best Buy going, oh. He was like, Dad, I could never tell you this, but I love you. Yeah, that one is a good one. There's a lot of like if I try to think of it like a South Park episode that sucks, there isn't really one that comes to mind straight away. A lot of like the season 1 stuff is it's just totally different than like what they are right now. So
it's
like,
not the same show.
You can't really compare the two.
And even Trey and Matt are like, that's not.
Yeah, that was a totally different
completely
thing.
different as to what we're doing now.
But there's so many episodes that just stand like head and shoulders above.
Oh yeah,
like all the rest of them. Like I love the one where everybody is Man Bear Pig comes back and like.
Is that the one with all the realtors?
I know that's a different one. This one is where Man Bear Pig comes back and he's killing people, and they keep thinking it's school shooters. So like the police will arrive on scene and it's just like bodies ripped apart. He's like, these fucking school shooters. What's wrong with these kids? And all he wants to do is go home and play Red Dead Redemption 2. Earlier, we talked about Hellraiser for a second. And it reminded me that there was a debate being had on Twitter. And I'm trying not to make this podcast a What Did Gary See on Twitter podcast, but it's like some of the shit that people do and say is just unbelievable. There was a discussion that the Cenobites, of course, who are like the race of torturing demons.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like the mini Cinnabon.
No, not those. The Cenobites are the demons in Hellraiser that come and they torture people, The discussion was that the Cenobites are not evil because they have their own sense of morality, and just because it's different than ours doesn't mean that they're inherently evil.
The fuck is wrong with people?
I don't understand where this push came from recently to try and like validate evil. Like give it a reason, like why does it exist? Something that we can understand why it occurred.
No.
It's like there can just be evil.
No.
Like especially I'm talking about a fictional setting, right?
Right.
Like, people in the same conversation led to people saying that J.R.R. Tolkien was a racist because the orcs were just evil.
Yeah, well, there you go.
He just wrote an evil race.
As soon as like people start out with that, I'm like, you know what? You just invalidated your entire argument. You've proven to me that you're a fucking moron.
I was like, orcs are. The guy was saying that orcs aren't inherently evil, and I was like, yes, they are. And he was like, how do you know? And I was like, because that's how they were fucking written by the guy that created them.
No.
And he was like, well, why do you think he wrote an evil race?
To push the story, you dumb
because
fuck.
It serves a narrative purpose, you absolute fucking buffoon. If there was no evil race, it would just be a slice of life book, like what's Frodo doing today?
Right.
It's like, I just like. And Disney's real bad about this too recently. When they write a villain, they have to have some kind of redemption. They have to have some kind of, thing that makes you understand, like, oh, okay, he's not evil, he's just misunderstood.
Yeah.
No, you can write an evil person. If it serves a narrative purpose, it's okay for a purely evil being to exist. Right. Not everything has to be, analogous to the fucking real world.
I find it so funny that, like, people that continue to, like, push that narrative are the same type of people that think that people that don't vote the way that they do are just completely fucking evil and irredeemable.
Right. Like, they are...
So interesting.
They are... They would sooner write off their political opposition as completely evil and irredeemable.
Yeah.
Then they would look at fucking the Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings and say, yeah, those guys are just bad.
No. Which I went down like a rabbit hole, like not concerning that, but concerning like Lord of the Rings and just like the movies. Like the books are like a totally different thing. But the movies, I think, are like the last great like fantasy trilogy movie that has been released.
I would agree.
And I don't think there's any going back.
No.
I don't think there's any recapturing that magic.
Yeah.
I think that was the last one because they rely so heavily on like CGI.
Yeah.
And people don't want to put in the time and the effort. Like,
even from like just a writing standpoint. I mean, the entire theme.
Oh yeah, the whole thing just mwah.
The whole theme of the movie is, you know, people like to bring up Lord of the Rings when people complain about things being politicized. They're like, well, Lord of the Rings is very political. Like, kind of, yeah, but it's more about the hero's journey than it is like the politics of the world that they're in.
Right.
Like, there are politics in the world,
as a backdrop,
but that serves as
to the story.
Yeah.
The character development.
I mean, Aragorn didn't like. It's not like Aragorn got the crown and then he turned around and handed it to a black guy. He was like, "It's time for the black Gondorians to rule the world." And it's like there's no reason for like contemporary politics to be shoved into every single thing.
Right.
Like you can have politics in your fictional setting.
Right.
That's fine. But it has to serve a narrative purpose. It can't just exist there like as like a wink wink nudge nudge to the audience.
Right.
Number one, that's fucking stupid and it breaks immersion.
For a modern audience. It was like it'd be like if you went back for like the like the very first like episode 4. And then, like, in episode 4, there's, like, I don't know, a group of aliens on a planet that live in a commune.
Yeah.
And they decide that they don't like that and that they go in to give them, quote-unquote, liberty. And then they napalm bomb them into submission.
And They take all the men back to their camps and cane their feet.
And then, like, the Emperor has a situation in which he goes and sends people to a hotel on a planet somewhere.
I see where you're going with that.
And it's a big deal, and they call it, like, liquid fence or something.
Liquid fence.
Yeah. This would be like it'd be them doing the same shit.
Yeah. There's no, I mean, like I said, there's no reason to constantly push contemporary politics.
Well, people go to the
everything.
movies for an escape from that shit.
Yeah.
Like it's bad enough that
you can make a movie about contemporary politics, but you can't make like a dark fantasy sci-fi thing and then cram a bunch of fucking contemporary politics in there, because when the political winds change in 20-30 years, that's going to seem really fucking weird and out of place.
Right. Well, it's sort of like the have you seen the Oppenheimer movie yet?
I haven't yet.
I would highly recommend it. It's a fantastic movie. Yeah. So it's like a bunch of people got pissed at Oppenheimer because it was like they're like, well, they're trying to like justify communism because he was like a quote unquote communist sympathizer. Yeah. It's like, no, they're telling the movie from a historical perspective and what he actually felt.
That's what he was.
It's like
that's how he really
fucking felt. Yeah. It's like there's no reason to fucking make it any other way. No. That's how he felt.
He also built the atomic bomb and vaporized 100,000 people.
And dropped it on a bunch of fucking Japanese people.
So, wait, is that your takeaway? Yeah. Is a communist?
Well, like, that was like the right's like argument against the movie. Is like, oh, well, they're trying to justify communism. And then the whole left side's argument was, well, they're trying to justify dropping the atomic bomb. It's like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Fucking shut up.
Why can't we just tell a story?
Yeah, just tell the fucking story and just shut up.
Yeah. Don't fucking preach at me. I'm tired of being preached at.
Yeah.
Especially
it's like it's a biopic.
Yeah, it's about a thing that actually happened. Yeah. I didn't know. I haven't watched Oppenheimer yet, but I did watch Barbie. We did watch Barbie the other night.
Yeah.
You want to talk about preachy?
Oh, really?
The Barbie movie is preachy.
It's kind of amazing to me that people were like taking their young children to go see that movie.
Yeah.
Like even I haven't watched it. But
to be fair, I don't know what the rating is. Is it rated R?
I think it's like PG-13 or something.
I mean, yeah, it's parental guidance for 13 and up, right? So
but I'm talking about like young, like 5-year-olds, like my daughter's age. Like I'm not taking my kid.
Yeah.
Like obviously...
Your kid's going to see a poster, though, that says Barbie. And they're like, oh, my God, there's a Barbie movie?
Right.
And then you have to turn and look your 5-year-old daughter in the face and say, you can't go see that.
Right. It's like, I told her, I was like, sweetie, it's like, there's plenty of, like, other, like, animated Barbie stuff you can watch.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, they're, like, saving a dolphin or,
Dude,
like...
I had no idea how much animated Barbie stuff there was.
It's fucking all over the place.
Fucking believable. The amount of movies and shows, and it's like all this, like, vapid, like, Barbie saves the horse kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
My daughter loves that stuff.
Like, there's a treasure trove of this shit.
She loves, like, all, like, the Barbie saves a dolphin, or, like, Barbie goes to the mall. And, like,
because that's all it needs to be.
Yeah.
Barbie doesn't need to go to the mall in order to protest
bring down the patriarchy.
Or protest for a ceasefire in Palestine. And her and 10 other Barbies beat up the mall Santa. I mean, there's a couple parts in the Barbie movie that really stuck out to me as just the writers telling me that they know best.
No.
And the one part is when Barbie goes to the real world and she goes up to this like group of young girls sitting at a table at like school or whatever. And she's like telling them, hey, I'm Barbie, I'm your Barbie from Barbie Land or whatever. And the little girl starts calling her like a capitalist fascist. And
nice.
And I was like, okay, an 11-year-old girl does not speak that way.
No.
I was like, a 42-year-old single cat mom from Hollywood does speak that way.
Right.
So I know who's talking to me right now.
Right. Just break the immersion.
Yeah. And it was, I was like... And the way even the way the line was written was like, it was just this rapid fire buzzword thing.
Yeah.
You know how they'll do that, like, and when I say they, I absolutely mean the left. I'm lumping you all together in this instance. They'll rapid fire off all these buzzwords: racist, bigot, capitalist, fascist, just all that. It's like they think as many of those buzzwords as they can cram into one sentence elevates their position of moral authority.
Right.
People are calling Javier Milei a fascist. That tells me that people have no fucking idea what fascism even is.
No, you have no clue. Like, fascism is socialist nationalism.
And Javier Milei is actively decentralizing the federal government. Right. So either you don't know what fascism is, or he's really fucking bad at being a fascist.
The worst fascist I've ever seen.
I don't know. Like, on this podcast, we complain a lot about a lot of things. And one of the things we like to complain about is just poor writing.
No.
And, I feel that there is still capable writers out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that even the people who are currently writing in Hollywood and are currently interjecting all these contemporary politics and things like that, I think that those people still have the capacity to write well. But they are so laser focused on preaching to people.
Right.
And it's like, that is not your job.
Right.
If you want to make something that is preachy, that has to be its defined purpose.
Right.
You can't just take Barbie
sprinkle some
and preach at me with Barbie.
Well, they're just using it as a vessel.
Yeah.
It's like they don't have like any reverence for the source material.
No, none.
Not that like Barbie has like a ton of source material, but it's fucking Barbie. Like, it's been around.
Well, you have to look
forever,
at what Barbie's fucking purpose is.
Right. It's a child's toy.
Child's toy.
Right.
It's not meant to yell at capitalists and fascists.
Right. It'd be like me writing a movie about Stretch Armstrong during the fucking collectivism, the Bolsheviks.
Wow, that would be rough. Especially when they like murdered the imperial family.
Yeah, where they like
Stretch Armstrong comes down there, he like rips all their heads off. You're like, wow, I don't know what the tone of this movie is supposed to be.
Or like, like if Stretch Armstrong like went and killed like all the peasants in like rural Ukraine, like when they were like the push for collectivism there too, It's like, I'm going to kill all these kulaks. And just
and he looks in the camera and he's like, take that, capitalists. And he's like, oh, that's the Stretch Armstrong I remember. Yeah. When I was a 5-year-old playing with Stretch Armstrong, I was going, die, fascist.
I mean, yeah, it's I honestly think that like there's still good writers out there, and I do not like.
A lot of them are in Japan.
Right. Well, yeah.
I'm sorry, but they are.
Well, I mean, some of the best storylines are coming out
are coming out of Japan.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like if you look at. I don't like the push on the other side either, because. It's like I feel like you can make a good movie without giving me the opposing viewpoint.
Yeah.
I don't need you to, like, I know, for me,
yeah.
I understand from my perspective that trans ideology in sports is a fucking wild concept.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't need a movie called Lady Ballers with heavy-handed fucking humor.
I was going to bring that up.
Like, nobody, I don't think anybody, like, I didn't ask for it. I don't think there was a push for it.
No, and it's also like...
all it is just a shot at the other side.
Yeah, it's all it is. It's like you're not saying anything that hasn't already been said.
Right.
You're just making fun of trans people.
Right.
It's like, I feel like we can state the way that we feel about these things without demonizing people.
Right.
Because that's their thing. That's what they do.
Right.
It's like, and if you start doing that, then you're just as bad as they are.
That's just as cringe as what they fucking do.
It's absolutely cringe.
It's like I saw the trailer for it. And
it's fucking like, boomer humor is what it is.
I was just like, none of this is funny.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's just mean spirited.
Well, it's like you could have written a story.
Yeah.
And like not made the humor so just like.
Yeah. Fuck you, trannies.
Yeah. And like they're. Like, I feel like you would be better off finding good writers. Like, we want to actually make a fucking comedy movie.
That is a critique. Yeah, of trans people in sports.
Exactly.
It could have been done.
Well, look at South Park.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they had Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, strong woman. Strong woman. I love that fucking episode.
But they critique both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, at least, they're like, yeah, this is a fucking wild concept, but also over here, this is also a wild concept.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of, when you aren't, like, fucking entrenched in this cultural warfare thing, all you see on both sides is just overreactions to everything.
Right. Well, it's just the horseshoe theory.
Yeah. It's like, if you all would just calm down for a fucking second, we could probably figure something out.
Right.
But it's just, everybody's just launching and lobbing attacks at one another. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, can somebody please just tell us a good story?
Right.
For the love of God, tell a good story.
It's like we were on such a good track. Like, we were doing so well with movies. Even like up until like the early 2010s, there were some pretty good movies that came out.
Yeah.
Like, most of them were like historical, like, tales or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we watched one the other day that was really good. Rush, about
the band?
No, it's about a Formula One driver, like in the early 70s.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what his name is. He's a German guy, or maybe he's Austrian. And it like tells the story of like him and his rivalry that he had like with this British guy.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie. It's got the guy that plays Thor in it.
Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth. It's a really good movie. But that's a good one. We watched like another one that was it's on Netflix. It's called Gran Turismo.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good one.
It Mary's dad's been telling me about that.
Yeah, so we watched that one. That one was really good. It's about like this kid that like plays Gran Turismo, and essentially it taught him how to drive a race car.
Yeah.
And he becomes a actual race car driver with like over 200 races.
Well, have you ever seen like how serious people will take Gran Turismo? Like, number one, Gran Turismo as a video game, like its entire purpose was to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
Like from like not just from graphics, but like physics and the way that like the cars touch the ground and things like that. Like, you ever seen like people's setups when they play that game?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they'll get like the fucking steering wheel, and it'll have like an instrument cluster, and it'll have like a shifter and like all that stuff. Like, they might as well be fucking driving.
Right.
I've even seen where people, one guy, he had a setup that was like in this gyroscopic things, like when he would like turn and make a corner, it would like turn his body. So he was like feeling the effects of gravity like as he's driving in this thing. Like people take it that fucking far.
It was a really good movie. I thought it was, and like towards the end of the movie, like you get to see them race the 24-hour Le Mans, that was kind of neat.
Is it a race that goes on for 24 hours?
Yeah, 24 hours, and I think it's France.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a bunch of really good race movies. Like there's that one, and there's another one with Christian Bale in it, where it's about the creation of the Ford GT.
Is it Ford versus Ferrari?
Maybe that might be what. Yeah, I think that is the one where that was about 24-hour Le Mans.
Ford GT is a sexy car.
Yeah, it's a good-looking car.
Good-looking vehicle. Yeah. They didn't make very many of them.
No, and I think like now you either have to like special request one of them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something. It's not something they had like mass produced.
No.
It's like the Ford or the Dodge Viper.
Yeah.
Like the Viper is not like a production car.
No. Isn't the Ford GT? It's a V12, isn't it? It's a 12 cylinder. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
I think that it is.
I know that the Viper is.
Yeah.
The Viper is such just like ooh.
Yeah, I think I've seen a Ford GT maybe once, and actually I can tell you, one time in person. It was over in Atlanta when I was working my old job. The owner of that rug store, I think I might have told that story. He was mad at us for being in front of his store, and he tore out of the parking lot in his Ford GT. But I think I've only ever seen a Viper like maybe once or twice.
I've seen one Viper.
Very rare to see those cars.
It says that it depends on what version of the Ford GT is that you're looking at. So they do have a V6. There's a 6-cylinder, which it's a 660 horsepower, 3.5 liter EcoBoost V6 engine.
I would feel like such a fucking goober if I got a Ford GT and some V6.
But they also have a V8. So there's an 8-cylinder.
Oh, there's a V8 one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm pretty certain that the Viper is.
That'd be like getting the 6-cylinder Camaro. It's like, where did this?
Yeah.
Like,
the Viper is a 10.
Oh, is it 10-cylinder?
Yeah, 10-cylinder. Yeah, 10 cylinders. Have you ever seen? Sometimes, like, I'll get on like Instagram and they have people will do like visualizations of like engines and everything, and like how the cylinders
like how they work and stuff.
And there's a really cool one where they had it was like a rotational 12-cylinder.
Is rotational as far as like the
so like
the
instead
little like
of,
triangle shaped guy,
like the V-shaped, like when they talk about like a V, like that's because the cylinders are shaped. It's like shaped in a V, right?
Yeah.
Where like this one is like a big circle, and the pistons are put in at angles.
Yeah.
So there's like a piston here and a piston here and a piston here and a piston here.
Yeah.
And so the pistons
kind of like a saw blade pattern.
Yeah. And so like as this one goes in, they're like it goes like that. So they're like all the way around.
Yeah.
It's really interesting looking. Cool. But apparently like they use those for like propellers, like for planes and stuff. It was really kind of, and I didn't even know it existed. So it's kind of interesting to see that. I would have assumed that it would just have been like a normal like V setup.
Yeah.
Whereas like you see like a 3-cylinder or like even like a 4-cylinder car, like you just have like the camshaft, like where it's just like forces straight down.
Yeah.
So they don't have like a two-on-two side like a
cylinder. Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense though, because I feel like if you have to redirect the direction of the energy. Like in a V6, like most V6 sit sideways in a car. Well, then they have to cut a hard 90 to go into like the drive shaft to get back to the rear differential and everything and drive the car. Whereas if in like a normal like I guess inline 4 or whatever, it just comes out of the engine and it goes straight back.
Right.
I think that the more changes in direction that you have, I think you lose torque and power every time you do that. So that would make sense that they would have it like when you think about like a propeller, because the propeller is coming straight out the end of the thing. Right. It would make sense that it would turn that way.
Yeah, because I think they sit it in there like horizontally.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the what they call the rotary engine or whatever, where it's like the piston, instead of coming in and out, it's just like a triangle shaped thing that kind of rotates inside?
Oh yeah.
Like it still does all the same thing, where it pulls in fuel and air, compresses explodes, which drives the piston back down, and then the piston pushes out the exhaust rotor.
Yeah.
So it's like what, 4 motions?
Yeah.
Well, the rotary engine is like if you imagine a circle, and then inside the circle is like this like triangle shaped guy, and it's like spinning around like this. It does all the same things where it pulls in fuel and air, compresses, explodes.
Sticks it in like probably like small.
Into small little pockets. Yeah. So it does all the same things.
Interesting.
And it was like supposedly you can reach unlimited RPM with a rotary engine.
Really?
With a rotary piston, I guess. That's what they call it. It's very interesting. It's really cool. I think there's actually some vehicles in production that used that type of piston
would
before.
that impact your ability to create torque?
I don't think so because all the power's coming from the actual explosion, right?
Yeah.
So as long as that explosion is happening,
right,
and that energy is being directed into the drive shaft, you're still getting the power.
I would have never considered that.
It is really cool. I like to see where people will make like engines out of like epoxy resin or something.
Yeah.
And like you could just like kind of you get like a like cross sections of the engine. You can kind of see how everything goes because like it's not. What's actually happening is not a terribly complicated process.
No.
But all of the machining and engineering involved to make it actually happen.
Well, I mean, all you're doing is just creating a controlled explosion.
Yeah.
That's all it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
But in order to get the controlled explosion to transfer the power of the explosion into this machine, like that's the complicated
instead
part.
of blowing itself apart.
Yeah, instead of blowing itself apart and not having it overheat. And that's why you have the coolant and everything.
Yeah. That's why, when you open up like the hood of a car, you're just like, my God, what is even happening in here? It's like all of those systems are built off of that engine. The engine is the focal point, and then everything coming off of it serves some kind of purpose to direct the power, direct the exhaust, cool the engine down, all those things. It's just really interesting. The actual engineering behind it to me is very cool.
Well, that's what the other day we had opened up. Allison got that new car, and so I had opened up the hood to take a look underneath the hood, and I was very impressed.
Yeah.
There is a lot of room inside that engine compartment.
Really?
I could see right down to the ground.
Wow.
Like, whereas, like, I open, like, up the hood on my truck, I can't see shit.
Because there's just shit everywhere.
There's just shit everywhere.
Yeah.
But why I was most impressed because most of the time as you're putting more shit onto a car, it just gets jumbled inside the fucking engine compartment. Whereas, like, this was, like, just the engine, just the radiator, just the reservoir for the windshield wiper fluid.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was just, like, all, like, the normal shit
like
that you would see.
compartmentalized. Yeah.
And it was, like, and there was, like, a section where, like, it's just, like, this big over on the side. It's just fucking nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like,
how did they manage this?
Yeah, how did, like...
Could they have been doing this the whole time?
Give it to the Germans. So somehow... Wunderwaffen.
Wunderwaffen. It just works.
But, yeah, so that was very impressive. Like, I remember, like, we had the old GMC... And, like, with that one, like, if someone was to break on the truck, like, you could at least, like...
You could, like, open the hood and see what broke.
Hood and, like, see what the fuck was wrong.
Like, oh, it's that.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you open, like, up on the hood on, like, a normal, like, say you had, like, a brand new 2024, like, Chevy Tahoe.
Yeah.
Or that you wanted to work on. Fucking good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the most complicated systems on any vehicle is actually the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Because like you have all those little like lines that run, they have to be perfectly vacuum sealed, and it was like if there's even the smallest like pitting in that pipe somewhere, the whole fucking thing will not work.
Nope.
And you can't find where it is, so a lot of times you just got to replace the whole thing.
Nope.
And it was like, and some people don't know that. When you turn on the heat in your car, it's using the heat from your engine. It's just directing that heat into your vehicle. So like if you've ever had your car overheat before,
that's why I know.
It blows all that engine heat into the cabin. You're like, what the fuck? Like, all of a sudden your car is cooking you.
Well, I remember the GMC had like a real bad problem with the radiator.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
It was like that was always the problem with that fucking truck. And like I just remember like the first time it overheated on me, I was in Douglasville, and like I called Dad, and I was like, well, it's overheated. I'm just gonna park. He's like, go into. This is when the Kmart was still over there. He's like, go into Kmart because I was in the Kmart parking lot. He's like, get water and get some antifreeze. He's like, go out there. He's like, do not.
Whatever you do.
Open the radiator.
Don't open that fucking
thing. Give it
an
hour.
Yeah, at least.
He's like, go find something to do for an hour.
Yeah.
So I was like, went in and like I bought a Mudvayne CD. And so, and then like I came back out and then he was like, coming home, he's like, turned the heat on and he's like, rolled it. It's like the middle of summer.
Yeah.
He's like, roll the windows down. He's like, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Hot. That metal truck got very hot.
He's like, because all the heat, it's going to pull all the heat off the engine.
Yeah.
He's like, which will help it to not overheat.
The air conditioning never really worked in that truck anyway.
No. All those old cars.
Yeah. They didn't really have air conditioning.
Like, it's like,
that's very weak fans. Like you get cars nowadays, it'll fucking freeze you out.
No.
Yeah, I miss that old truck. I told Mary her car overheated not long ago, and I told her, I was like, look, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this. I was like, but if your car ever overheats, I was like, do not take the fucking cap off. I was like, don't do it. I was like, because it will boil this meat off of your bones. Like this,
right.
Like I've seen so many videos of people like taking the fucking radiator cap off, and it spews that boiling radiator fluid all over them.
High pressured radiator fluid.
And just like the injuries that I've seen, like people's hands and arms and their faces and shit.
Who has not told these people?
Yeah. I mean, there's even like
it says on there.
It says on the
do
cap.
Do not open.
Yeah, don't do this. There should be like several layers of caps you have to get through with pictures of people injured.
Yeah, there's like an alarm that goes off.
Yeah. It calls the police. Oh yeah. Oh, before we get too far into the episode, we actually do have a Super Cringe Thursday that we need to talk about. It was the White House official Twitter posted a Christmas time video of, I guess it was Barnum and Bailey. It was a fucking circus going on inside the White House. It was all these people that were tap dancing and they were just tap dancing around the White House, which sounds innocuous, right? When I describe it that way. But when you watch the video, you can see that it's really fucking lame and it's super fucking cringe.
Right.
I don't understand.
It's very Hunger Games.
It is very Hunger Games. Yeah. It's like I said, I was like, I can't tell if this came from our White House or the fucking Capitol in Hunger Games. There's this one girl that she unhinges her jaw.
Yeah.
And I just does this. I don't know what that is or who told her to do that. I don't know if she just improvised that and they're like, yeah, that's great. Keep doing that.
They're like, we're going to give them a glimpse into what lizard people look like.
You can see all the way down her fucking esophagus. It's insanity what she does. There's not a whole lot to it. It's just super cringy. It's super cringy to watch. And I also found out that the agency that put on this whole production actively works to undermine white people getting into college.
Oh, nice.
So there you go. Congratulations. You did great.
Nice.
It just seems out of touch, too.
The thing I don't understand about this particular administration is how they refuse to acknowledge that the economy is in the shitter.
They won't do it. They keep saying it's great.
It's like if they think that if they keep sticking their head in the sand, and it's just like everybody's struggling.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you give us this, whatever this is.
Was this supposed to make it better?
Yeah.
All these fucking clowns?
Send in the clowns.
Send in the clowns, yeah. It just cracks me up because I see fucking... Joe Biden actually has two different Twitter accounts. There's one called President Biden and one called Joe Biden or whatever.
Yeah, one's the official, presidential account.
Is that right? And then he has, I guess, his own?
Right.
either whichever one. It's not him making these tweets. I know for a fact he's not typing up tweets on his phone. He's got somebody doing it for him. And they every single tweet, every single one, there has not been one yet that was an outlier. Every single tweet that motherfucker posts, he is getting dogged in the comments.
Yeah.
People are dogging his ass because we can see that the economy's not in a good place because we're the ones spending money in the fucking economy.
Right.
I'm going to the grocery store and spending $200 a week to feed 2 people 4 nights.
Right.
No, the economy's not in a good spot. It simply is not true.
Right.
And it makes me a bigot for saying that.
Yeah.
Fine. That's fine.
Well, as far as like the economy is concerned, it's like, yeah, like he's certainly not making it any fucking better. He has exasperated the situation.
Yeah.
It's like, but I'm gonna give Trump some of this too. It's like when you shut down the fucking economy like you did, and then you gave a bunch of people free fucking money, and I said it was a bad fucking idea, and you shouldn't be fucking doing it, and now it's biting everyone in the fucking ass.
It was really impressive that he caved to pressure the way he did, the way Trump did, during the whole COVID thing, because I would have figured if any president was going to be the one to be like, no, we're not doing that, it was going to be him.
I think that he thought, I'm in an election year. I'm going to give out all this free money, and people are going to love me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it was 2020, wasn't it? Yeah, wow.
Because as soon as he was like, we're going to start sending out stimulus checks, and we're going to 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks turn into 4 weeks. I was like, this is bad. This is really fucking bad.
Yeah.
This is going to be real fucking bad for the economy because nobody's working. Yeah. Nobody's producing any type of like service or good. There's no exchange of anything. It's like, here, we're just going to print money out of thin air and we're going to give it to you. It's like, okay, is my favorite analogy for this is there's a whole troop of monkeys.
Yeah.
And one monkey has a banana. And all the other monkeys want the banana. So they're willing to give whatever. And like 10 coconuts.
Yeah.
A ball sack that I ripped off another monkey.
My ball sack that I ripped off myself.
Exactly. They're willing to provide all these goods and services in order to get that banana. But what happens when the monkeys are going through the forest and the monkeys holding on to the banana and they find a bunch of trees with a whole bunch of bananas in it?
2 trillion bananas.
2 trillion bananas.
Yeah.
It's like the monkeys don't give a fuck about that banana now. Yeah. And that monkey's thinking, fuck, I should have traded that banana.
Yeah, I could have had 10 coconuts because now those 10 coconuts are more valuable than these 2 trillion bananas.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. It's the same fucking... I don't understand. People are like, well, it's like the whole fiat currency thing. I get so upset about this. It makes me so fucking mad. Because people do this thing, it's like, you can't apply basic economics to macroeconomics. The fuck you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
At the end of the day, it's fucking math.
Yeah. It's like, what, you think just because it gets bigger, it doesn't fucking apply?
Yeah. Our money is not backed by anything.
No, it's just made up bonds.
It's
U.S.
made
bonds.
up horseshit. It doesn't mean anything. Look, here's McDonald's. Like I saw a post where someone was like, McDonald's is doing this promotional thing where they have these thing called McTokens, and each McToken is worth 1 Big Mac, and it was like, that money is based off of something. This McToken is actually a Big Mac that you can go and trade for a Big Mac. So therefore, that McToken has more buying power than the fucking U.S. dollar because it's actually based on something.
Well, up until the 1970s when Nixon took us off the fucking gold standard, it was like every U.S. dollar was worth whatever ounce it was in gold.
Yeah.
Or silver.
Yeah.
It said it on the fucking money.
Yeah.
You could take all of your monies and take it to a bank, and they would give you fucking silver.
Yeah.
Here's your silver. This is what your money is worth. This is
what your money was worth, yeah.
And it was universally understood that these are rare earth metals.
Yeah.
And they are worth something. So if I took a gold bullion and took it up to fucking Wendy's, it's like I could get food for it because it was understood that it was worth something.
A doubloon.
Yeah, a doubloon.
Like a skull and crossbones. Oh, man. Like, I don't know, when you see that the whole thing is a farce.
Well, it's like, okay, let's say that you had $10,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
and you go up to the bank, you're like, I would like to have my $10,000, please. Yeah. And they go, you can't have it because we don't have that money. Yeah. It's not here.
Yeah.
You want to know why it's not there? Because they took your $10,000 fucking dollars. I think they'll have to keep like 10% of it, and they give it away to someone else. And they do that in the form of a fucking loan.
Yep.
So your $10,000, say somebody comes in, they're like, I want a $9,000 loan. They go, okay, here's the money.
Yeah.
And so they just give that person that money. So that money's not in the bank anymore. No. It's not there.
That ding-dong who took out a $9,000 loan has it.
It doesn't fucking exist.
And then the bank says, but don't worry, they're going to pay us back.
Right.
With interest. And then you say, well, what if they don't? Huh?
Exactly. Right.
Then 2008 happens.
Right.
Oh God, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating being lied to, and being told that I have to fucking like this.
Right.
I have to like how this is going.
Right.
I don't at all. I don't enjoy this.
No. Like probably the best thing they could do, and another thing is like with the inflation, is like getting money is a game. Mm-hmm. And you don't get to not play the game.
No.
Everybody's playing the game.
Yep.
And you don't get to opt out of it. Sorry, that's life. That's just the way that it fucking happens. Because if it wasn't this, it's like you wouldn't have time to sit around and bitch and complain about you're not making money because we'd be out killing fucking squirrels in the wood.
Yeah.
And the best hunter would be the person with the most
power.
Yeah. It's like, so when you have an influx of money going into the economy, you think that people that aren't good at getting money are going to get more of that money? No, the people that are good at the game and are good at getting the money are going to get the fucking money.
Yeah.
It's like, so you just increased their coffers. That's all you fucking did.
Yeah. And if you look at it like percentage-wise...
Yeah, you don't think that the CEOs of Boeing and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and fucking Halliburton aren't going to get a whole bunch of that fucking money?
Of course they are.
You don't think that somebody living over in fucking government housing is going to, all of a sudden they're going to become a fucking tycoon?
Actually, their money now has less buying power.
Exactly. Because there's more bananas.
They're even poorer than they were before.
Right. It's like there's more fucking bananas. I don't need your bananas. Yeah. Your bananas aren't worth as much. I don't understand what people don't understand.
I don't understand why people keep voting for the people who keep doing this to them.
Well, like I said, you would think that Trump would have fucking understood, but apparently he didn't either.
Well, it's a big uniparty. They're all in cahoots together. We've said it 1,000 times. Yeah. It's you know, it is what it is. It's a big shit sandwich, and we all got to take a bite.
A break from that, though, is did you see, and I know how much you love volcanoes.
Oh, God.
Did you watch the video that I sent you?
I did. I did. I don't like how one volcano fucked the whole planet for a whole year.
And it wasn't that long ago.
No, it was like 18-something, wasn't it?
It was like 1809 or something like that.
Was it Mount Tabor?
Yeah, Mount Tabora.
Tambora.
Tambora. Yeah, so Mount Tambora, they thought it was a mountain.
Yeah, it was real funny because he was like, everybody living around it just thought it was a mountain. Yeah. And then like for 3 years it started rumbling, and everybody living there was like, the mountain just does that now. They're like, I guess the mountain rumbles occasionally.
But so I think he said it was in Indonesia,
Singapore.
Somewhere in Indonesia.
Indonesia. That's what it was. Yeah.
And so it is this large mountain, and it was like in the early 1800s. And
big fucking mountain.
Fucking big. Massive, huge.
Yeah.
And it blew its top and spewed.
It was 6.5 kilometers wide. Blew off the top of that
and spewed into the fucking atmosphere. Yeah. And just boiled people's lives in their homes.
It was a big number.
I think he said it was like 90 miles out, just death.
Was it like hundreds of thousands of people died?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of people died.
A lot of fucking people.
A horrible death.
Like just boiling rock in the atmosphere.
Yeah. God almighty.
And so, and they were talking about how like this, I think it was either that one, there was another one. So there's Mount Tambora and there was Krakatoa, which I think both of those, they're both in the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
And so one of them, I want to say was Mount no, and that might have been Krakatoa. But either way, Mount Tambora, when it blew, there was no summer that year because of how much sulfur was in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And for those of you, I think this might have been on his Geographics channel.
It is Geographics.
So there's a guy, his name is Simon Whistler, and he has like all these, I love watching all his videos.
Yeah.
It's very informative.
Yeah.
Like just stuff that like you don't really hear about. So I didn't know anything about Mount Tambora. And so go check out that channel, and he has like a bunch of other ones called like Into the Shadows and a bunch of stuff where he goes over like the rise of the Nazi Party in Germany, which I thought was very interesting. But like, so when Mary Shelley wrote,
that was really interesting.
I thought that was very fascinating. Was when Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, she didn't write it during the winter. She wrote it during the summer.
Yeah.
It was like in Geneva, wasn't it?
It was in Geneva,
where they were staying in that cabin.
Her and like 4 other guys.
Right.
It was 2 couples, right? It was her and her fiance, I guess, and then another couple that they were there with.
And so, like, you always hear the stories like, oh, it was so dreary, and it was like there's all these horrific storms, and they stayed inside. Well, the reason why that was
because of that one fucking volcano.
Mount Tambora, thousands of miles away, halfway across the world, blew its fucking top and sent so much fucking sulfur and just shit into the atmosphere.
Where it stayed.
That it just changed the fucking world for a year. It did. Like, you couldn't grow crops.
Yeah.
You couldn't do, like, and this was like on the other side of the world. It was much worse than like China, which was closer. It was like 3 years where it just killed the rice, like all the rice. They couldn't grow rice. Yeah.
It was really interesting, too, how, like.
Which was interesting because they said that started the opium trade.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like he was saying
So that volcano exploded, now we have heroin.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Wow.
It's a fascinating video.
It really is. It's really interesting how much of our current world is affected by that volcano that exploded all the way back then. Especially like the arts and literature. Like that was really interesting to me when he brought up how it kind of redirected like the focus of all like the poets and artists at the time. And it's like everything went into like this kind of dreary, dark kind of mindset. It was like that's kind of like where horror started from.
And the other one was, what's that famous painting? The Scream or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Where Mount Tambora.
Really?
Yeah, because when it blew all that shit in the atmosphere, like the guy that did the painting, like he was walking home one night and like saw like this like red sky with like all the colors in it. And then a year later he did that painting.
Yeah.
So it also influenced that painting as well. One of the most famous paintings other than like the Mona Lisa.
Yeah. But it was very, very interesting. It was, every third or fourth sentence the guy said is like, also it affected this. Also it affected this. You're like, wow, that one fucking volcano did. It was kind of funny too. He was talking about how people in the Americas were like reading about like how like the death and destruction, like, a month after the explosion. Yeah. And they're like, oh, sucks to suck. And then 4 months later, everybody's starving.
Yeah, because they were saying like in the middle of July, like during the 4th of July celebration, like it was snowing and people were sledding outside.
Yeah.
And like.
In July.
Yeah, in July. That's fucking wild.
Yeah,
it'd be like if during like July here, like all of a sudden it just started snowing.
Yeah, when it's regularly
like, what the fuck is going
80,
on?
90 degrees.
Right.
Yeah. God, that would be terrifying, actually.
Yeah. But it's like just like that
kind of like global warming, huh? The planet's getting hotter. It's snowing in July.
But like that kind of stuff was really interesting, and I think that Mount Tambora might have also been the other. I think they said it was like the loudest. It was the loudest sound in recorded history.
Really?
And I think
it probably was. Yeah.
I think they said the sound wave caused barometric pressure measures like decibel levels or whatever. So like when like a low. They say like when a low pressure system enters into like an area, it changes the decibel level, and that's how they're able to measure that with the barometric pressure. That sound wave traveled across the globe 3 times.
God almighty.
3 fucking times.
The first time it came by, people were like, what the fuck was that? And the second time, like, what's fucking happening?
Well, they were saying that, like, in Sydney, like, there was, like, a guy, like, there's, like, reported instances where people were, like, it sounded like somebody, like, shot a gun next to their head.
Yeah.
And they're like, the fuck is that? Like,
yeah. That, it's, would it be more, imagine it was you, right? You were in you were outside. there's like 50, 60 people around, and you hear an explosion. Would it be creepier if only you reacted to it, or if everybody outside reacted to it?
No. Well, I think they said that, like, because I think there was like a German ship that was like in the area when it blew, like when it fucking went up, and like they were saying like it immediately like blew the eardrums like out of everybody that was on the ship.
Yeah.
And how, like, the captain was like, this is Armageddon. We're all going to die.
Yeah, the world's ending.
The world's ending.
You can't really fault him for thinking that. I mean, probably that's, that's biblical.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That kind of thing happening. Is people are immediately going to be like, oh, this is absolutely prophesied in the end of the world. Everything, the skies will darken and, like, it'll be a never-ending winter.
Right. Well, I mean...
And when it's snowing in July, it would be hard not to believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, like, back then, where it's like, no, there wasn't, like, modern, like, science or anything.
Yeah.
To, like, kind of be like, oh, no, it's this massive volcano. Like, yes, it is cataclysmic, and yes, we're probably, a bunch of us are going to die.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, he has another video that he did where he talks about it was a tsunami that hit Japan in, like, 1111. It was like a 1,100 something BC or AD.
Yeah. And
how it was like a 60-foot wave. No, I take that back. It was a 16-meter wave over 600 miles long.
God.
That hit the coast of Japan and just fucking annihilated and just untold amounts of people. And
imagine the force behind that.
It came from. It's not the San Andreas fault. It's the other one that rides down the coast of, like, Alaska into Oregon.
Yeah.
And how they were saying that I can't accurately explain it because he does a better job of it, but he was saying that it was this fault that runs across and it, like, sucked the water out of the Pacific like 2 miles.
Ooh.
And there's just like all these like Native American tribes like, the fuck is going on?
Where'd all the water go?
And then all of a sudden it's like this 50-foot high wave. It's just like
coming over, cresting over the horizon. God, that would be fucking terrifying.
And he's got a bunch of different ones, and a lot of it's really interesting. Like, he goes over there's a hotel in North Korea. It's like the Rio. I can't remember that. It starts with a RY, but he goes like over the history of that, and how essentially like that sent them into like their modern, like in the 90s when they had like this massive famine.
Yeah.
Like people were like eating one another.
Yeah.
Is because they took like 50% of the GDP for like 4 years and like shoved it into this fucking hotel.
Really?
And just bankrupt their fucking country. And
why would they do that? It's not like they had tourism.
And then he goes over another one about the Aral Sea and how the USSR drained the Aral Sea.
We talked about that, yeah.
And there was another one. I mean, he's got hundreds of videos. And then he has another one where he talks about it's this massive burning hole in where's that country?
Siberia?
No, it's not Siberia. It's over near Kazakhstan. Turkmenistan. Yeah. And then he has another one where he talks about the Semipalatinsk, which is where they did all their nuclear bomb explosions. There was like a city 3 miles away.
Yeah.
And so like all these people are getting bombarded with fucking nuclear
radiation.
And then he goes over the place where they dropped the Tsar Bomba. And he's got another one. What was it? He's got another one about the White to Baltic Sea Canal. And I've read a book by Anne Applebaum about the Gulag, like the creation of the Gulags, and she goes into detail about it. It's really fascinating, but how they dug a trench by hand with essentially prison labor.
Yeah.
So they just gave them sticks
to make this canal?
To make this canal that runs from the White Sea to the Baltic Sea.
Jeez.
And so they did it by hand, and they just...
It's amazing what you can do with slave labor.
Yeah. And they're just like, here's a stick, get to it. And they dug it like 12 foot deep. It's not very deep.
Yeah.
And then...
So it's a lot of earth to move with a fucking stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I just find it fascinating because you don't hear anything about the USSR because it's very hush hush.
Well, I mean, it's so much of the documentation was destroyed too when it dissolved. Like, there's so much that is just completely lost to history. No one will ever know.
Right. Like, that whole area over there is really fascinating because, like, you have, like, people don't really hear anything about Turkmenistan, but Turkmenistan is probably worse than North Korea.
Yeah.
As far as, like, the shit that they do to their population. Like I was telling you on the podcast where it's like, you have to memorize the fucking leader's autobiography.
If you want to drive.
Yeah, and there's a new leader, so now you have to memorize his autobiography.
How many of those people can actually read, do you think?
It's interesting to hear about, like, that section of the world. Like, there's another one over near, like, Bulgaria or something like that, where there's just, like, this strip of the nation that, like, it's an unrecognized nation that, like, nobody ever hears about.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of it. But it's just, like, they still, like, embody, like, all the USSR ideals.
Really?
And it's, like, they refuse to be part of this country. And it's just, like a 60-mile strip of land.
Really? Like a rogue nation?
Yeah, like a rogue nation.
Wow.
But, like, nobody ever fucking talks about that. So,
yeah.
Like, I just find that kind of stuff fascinating because, like, I don't know anything about that area of the world.
Right.
And, like, nobody ever talks about it.
I like stuff like tribal populations living in the current day.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
was it like a
Sentinel Island off of India? It was like they kill anybody who steps foot on the island, so nobody's ever really been able to, like, contact them or do anything with them. We just let them exist. Like, it's like the whole world moved on, and they just let those people just stay how they are. Like, eventually it's going to get to a point, like, they have to see planes and shit.
Oh, yeah.
I know that they're seeing, like, satellites going overhead and things like that. But, like, and especially, like, if they're standing on the coastline, they're seeing boats.
Yeah, or like a helicopter flies over.
Yeah. It's like, but I want to know what they think about that shit. Like, do they have any idea that it's us doing that?
What if, like, they're like Wakanda?
Wakanda. Like it's all like a farce.
Yeah.
They have like a utopia in the middle of the island. It's all Indians. Yeah. Bloody, fuck you, bloody.
Like, that stuff is interesting, and, like, there's another where, like, they've exhumed, like, the remains of, like, small humans. Have you seen that?
Oh, the pygmies, yeah.
Whereas, like, they look like they're
scaled down people.
They're the size of fucking hobbits.
Yeah. It's like, those the ones where it was like their skeletal structure is literally just like a scaled down person. Yeah. Like, they don't look deformed in any way. It's just like
a tiny person.
Version of a person. Yeah. Right. That's so odd.
They existed alongside Homo sapiens.
Yeah. What was the other one? It was Homo sapiens and was it Neanderthals?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like where they branched off.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have Neanderthal DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that, like, if you do like a 23andMe or like a Ancestry or whatever, they can detect that if you have Neanderthal DNA.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because at the time that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens were existing at the same time, those were basically two different species.
Right.
So it was kind of like if somebody went and fucked a chimp.
Ugh. I would imagine that most of that, because I would imagine that way back when, I'd imagine that the thought process on forced sexual contact was probably not the same thought process that we
probably
have
not quite as progressive as it is these days.
So I'd imagine that
it's very possible that Neanderthals have had unwanted advances, and it's very possible that Neanderthals
were doing unwanted advances.
You think it went the other way? I was thinking like Homo sapiens were like keeping fuck slaves.
No, I don't think so. I think it was more like you're going back to Oog's cave. Right?
Or Oog broke into your mud hut.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody else is like, we gotta get these Oogs out of here. So I was like, the Oogs are just misunderstood.
What are you, some type of bigot?
Yeah, I'm an Oog activist. Sorry about my grandpa, he's Oogist.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine that there was probably like a bunch of Neanderthals that were just like whacking people over the head.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Dragging them back to their caves by their hair or whatever.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. the whole. It's really interesting when you look at, humanity from that kind of evolutionary standpoint, because humanity has existed on the planet. I think it's like not a long time at all, like 200,000 years. I think
compared to the age of the Earth, it's a blink of an eye.
It's like I think it's 200,000 years, and in that 200,000 years that humanity's been here in all its shapes, sizes, and forms and variations, the last like 0.00008% is our current modern day history.
Right.
Like I would say going back 2,000, 3,000 BC. When civilization started to people started
now there are some people that argue now that based on water tables and everything like that, that when you look at stuff like the Sphinx, it is much older
than we thought it was.
Than we like tens of thousands of years older.
That much?
Yes.
Wow.
They think that there was civilizations way before, like ancient Egypt and ancient Sumeria.
Really?
Yeah. And they're just lost to time. They think that there was a cataclysmic event and it caused them to go extinct.
Yeah. Like a volcano exploding or something. They weren't able to grow crops. That shit could happen to us.
Well, it's like, look at like the Library of Alexandria and how much knowledge was lost. Like that, we had already figured out calculus.
Yeah.
Like it had already been figured out.
They'd already done it once.
Yeah, and then it was all lost. And then they had to figure out all that shit again. Like you're talking about thousands of years worth of knowledge that just poof went up in smoke.
Did you ever see where that guy thought? I mean, he's like 100% certain that he's found the city of Atlantis, and it's in like. My African geography is really, really bad, so you have to excuse me. But I think it's in the like northwestern region of Africa in the Saharan Desert, and I think what it is there's like a big formation like in the middle of the desert, and I think it's called the Eye of the Sahara, and they believe that just looking at like the erosion patterns and stuff around that area, it matches all historical records and documents of the city of Atlantis.
Really?
Like the 3 rings or whatever. This thing is like there's a ring in the middle and one on the outside and one on the outside of that.
Yeah.
And it was like in all like the sand and everything eroded away. It's not rainwater, it's water being rushed away like man-made. Like it was done by man.
Yeah.
And that's a very surface level explanation of the thing, but I'm pretty sure it's called the Eye of the Sahara. The guy who talks about it, he went on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he explains all about it. That's it right there.
Interesting.
Yeah, he goes into detail all about like how.
So there's a theory that is the ancient city of Atlantis?
Yeah, the 3-ringed city of Atlantis. It's really fucking cool. I don't know, it could all be a bunch of coincidences.
Right.
Which some stuff is. But it would be really cool if they did find something there.
Well, it's sort of like I've heard him talk about before, like, and he's had people like Egyptologists and everybody come on, and it's like whatever they thought,
This was historical records of Atlantis. That's what Atlantis was supposed to look like.
Huh. It looks like it.
Very similar, yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah.
So it's like when they talk about like the pyramids and like how when they cut that limestone, it was hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
And they drug it
fucking blocks.
Yeah. Drug it through the fucking mountains.
Yeah.
It's like if you place like 10 of them a day, I think he said it would take him like hundreds of years to get these built. And they were saying that they got them built much quicker than that.
I mean, if you consider, even if they had just a 24/7 assembly line of slaves stretching all the way from where they quarried the stone all the way to where they built these things, I don't think that it's impossible for them to have figured out the logistics of something like that. They absolutely could have. I mean, for fuck's sake, they built the pyramid somehow. But it's still, there's something about their construction of the pyramid, something very foundational that we aren't getting.
Well, and he's also stated, and the guy that was on the podcast, he was like, there are marks in those stones that indicate that the tools that they were using were beyond the tools that we assumed that they had at the time that it was built.
Like chisels and hammers.
Yeah, it was like they assumed like they were like in the Bronze Age.
Really?
And they were like, but there's markings on those stones that indicate that they had diamond-tipped tools that they were using in order to cut this stone. He's like, and that doesn't line up with anything that we know.
How would they have been able to shape diamond into a tool?
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, we don't understand that like at all.
Yeah.
He's like, there's a piece missing here that we don't have.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about history is like you're not seeing the full picture because you weren't there.
Yeah. And I think the Egyptians were very famously bad at documenting their kind of mundanity. Right. Like a lot of like their hieroglyphics and stuff kind of, I'm pretty sure, only talk about like their gods like Ra and like kind of the story of like all the pharaohs, whoever's tombs are in those pyramids, because the pyramids are tombs. That's kind of what those hieroglyphs are all about. It's just about them.
Right.
There's nothing that really explains like, they never thought like, why would we need to document how we did this?
Right. Well, you're also talking about a language that has been dead for thousands of years. Yeah. Whereas like you, even going back like the Latin language, like during the time of like the Roman Empire, like that's now a dead language. No one speaks that language anymore. And the longer it stays dead, the less people that are going to know that language. It's like, so who's to say that you're understanding exactly what it is that you're looking at when you're reading? Yeah, you could totally misinterpret that. There's no way to know. There's nothing to corroborate whether or not you're correct about it. It's sort of like people like that read like the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's like you are taking your best guess at what you think it is that this is saying. Yeah. Like you don't really know. Yeah. Was it Napoleon that found the Rosetta Stone? I think it was. Maybe. I think the reason we know as much as we do about ancient Egypt is because of Napoleon, because when he led his campaign down in there, he brought with him a bunch of researchers and scholars and stuff. And I'm pretty sure they found the Rosetta Stone like crammed into a wall, like as a supporting stone or whatever. And he was like, wow, this thing is infinitely valuable. Yeah. And they was like, we're taking this. Yeah. Yeah. Another interesting thing about Mount Tambora is they think that was one of the reasons why he lost at Waterloo. Yeah. Yeah. But I was like, fuck, man. Like, it's tied to fucking everything. Every single thing, yeah. It was very interesting. It's like, with as important as you think that event would have been, like, that would have been taught in school. Yeah. They're like the explosion from Mount Tambora. That changed the whole world. It changed the whole world. It changed the course of history and literature. Yeah. No, I had to hear about it when I was 31 from a YouTube video. Yeah. It's like, how is this not taught in school? Yeah. It's like you would think, like, as far as like history class and English class and everything is concerned, like they would have set that up and been like, the reason why we're getting ready to teach you this is because of this one event that happened that changed the course of history that no one fucking talks about. No, kids these days, they gotta know how to fuck each other in the butt. That's a real thing they're teaching children. I'm not making that up. Jesus. Well, I believe that's all we got time for today, everybody. So, as always, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate all the listeners that we have. We got our 2023 recap from Buzzsprout. I don't know if you looked at it or not. I haven't looked at it yet. Our listenership grew by 20% this year. Oh, so nice. The numbers are going up. We're seeing it when we see the monthly downloads. There was one month, like 2 months ago, where we had like over... like 160, 180 downloads, I think it was. Oh, really? Just out of nowhere. And then like a couple months before that, we had one that was like 150. Yeah. Like we usually bang around between like 40 to 60. Yeah. But sometimes we'll just get 3 times that amount. No. So if you're new to the podcast, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for listening. If you have anything that you would like us to discuss, if there's anything that we were wrong about, make sure you reach out to us on the Facebook page, or you can email us at thickboypodcast@gmail.com. That's thickboypodcast. No S on boys. Yep. thickboypodcast@gmail.com. Do you have anything you'd like to close with? Nope. Just all those items, if I'm not mistaken, they're still in the show notes. So I think the email address and I think the Facebook account is still linked. Like you can just click on it in the show notes. I think it's still there. Yeah. If not, you can copy and paste it into a web browser. You can find us on Facebook. Yeah. But no, yeah. So just thank you so much for the continued support. We really appreciate it. You're listening to this probably on a Tuesday, which will be after Christmas. So after Christmas. So Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. This is our Christmas gift to you. Yeah. An episode that you should have had anyway. So just thank you for the continued support. I'm going to go ahead and as soon as we get done recording this, I'm going to post the Mount Tambora video to the Facebook page. I always say I'm going to do things like that, and then I never do it.
And I'll make sure he does it.
Yes. So, and then I'll try to continue to post memes and stuff.
I was going to say, you've been doing a lot of shit posting lately. I like that.
I'll continue to try to post memes on the Facebook page as I find them. So,
sounds good. Well, everybody, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.